I wanted to start off the stream with kind of talking about my testimony, essentially. This morning, there was a YouTube video posted about me, and the creator of that video, super sweet. I talked to them personally. They were super sweet in taking it down, but it had a lot of incorrect information. As I keep just trying to go on with my life, I've been putting off talking about my testimony, but I guess it's about time I do it now. I may go off on little like rants, and I apologize for that. I'm filled with a lot of emotions. It was one of those things where I felt like no matter how hard I'm trying to just better myself, people still want to bring up things that doesn't matter anymore. Or they want to make assumptions that they shouldn't without asking me. And it sucks. So, for starters, I grew up in a very loving household, no problems. I grew up believing in God and knowing that He created me and created everything, but I was never raised in church to read the Bible or really much anything along those lines. I had a children's Bible when I was a kid that my dad used to actually get me to read almost every night. So it was more of like Christian morals, but not really like being told to really follow Christ. Leading up to this point, naturally when you go into your teenager phase, you're rebellious, you don't care. You go through life doing dumb stuff. Junior high, I went through a lot of sexual harassment. Then high school came along, and I decided to live all throughout high school as a boy, essentially, quote unquote, thinking I was trans. Obviously, I'm not. I lived through high school just as a boy, thinking I was trans. When I left high school, went to college, I eventually came out of that and realized that was more out of just trauma of the things that I went through. I was in an abusive relationship. I grew out of that, came back to being my girly self, but also still a very heavy tomboy. 2020 was probably where a lot of things kicked off for me and started. 2020, I got diagnosed with a chronic disease. It's called Grave disease, and that's basically a permanent version of hyperthyroidism. My thyroid gland don't work. That's when I kind of started trying to be in touch with God. Because after that moment, and it is unfortunate that it happened at this moment where I was essentially at one point close to death, I prayed every night that God would keep me alive and I'd be healthy again and He'd fix me and all these things. Praying to God, just like, please, please save me. Please help me make my body well again because I didn't know what was wrong with me at the time. I went 2 weeks not eating. The most I would eat in a day for 2 weeks straight would be a singular banana, cup of oranges, and like 2 slices of bread every day. That's how my body stayed alive in that moment. Eventually found out what was wrong with me. I thank God that I did come out of that. But at the time I didn't, I wasn't giving myself to him. When I started being a VTuber, did what every VTuber does. Or majority of VTubers do. You sexualize yourself and your model to get the attention of other people. Did that a lot. Even had a fansly for like hentai and stuff of my model. And thankfully, I wasn't doing anything physically to myself. I do regret them now. My current relationship with my boyfriend helped me realize a lot of things were wrong between enabling people's porn addictions. Felt so wrong because I noticed my relationship was kind of built on that very hypersexual foundation. Eventually, it came to me like telling him that like, hey, I'm stopping this completely. I feel wrong doing it, and it would be better for both me and you if also like while I quit my stuff that you quit your stuff. We'll not get into his side of things, but we had to work through that. Took a while. We're in a better spot now, but porn damaged my relationship a lot, damaged me a lot. And at the time, I was using a model that basically looked like I was wearing a bunny suit. I'm gonna see if I have a image I can put for educational purposes. Let me see. This was my model before this one. Basically, a bunny suit with some kimono sleeves. I was working on a different outfit, and like VTuber models, they take time and money. So, what I did in the meantime is I had an arm toggle for that model where she was basically crossing her arms, and I used that toggle 24/7 while I was working on this model. And this model, some of you remember, or initially did have larger breasts. I didn't create this outfit even for the intention of being inappropriate. I just thought it looked cool. But of course, when my model already had bigger breasts, it looked inappropriate and actually was never meant to exist like that in the first place. My model got heavily exaggerated. I've always wanted my model to reflect me and how I am in real life. Be real, I'm small. Leave it at that. I have nothing. The fact that that happened at the time, like I should have corrected it, but then I was just like, well, we're in this far. I'm in this far, whatever, just keep going with it. As I was starting to like think about God a little more as I moved away from doing NSFW. I started thinking about God more and wanting to go back to church. Didn't know what church to go to, honestly, because there's a lot of churches near me. I was at work, and my coach that was training me at the time for bodybuilding, he came up to me, and I was telling him that like I've been wanting to go to church, and he invited me to his church. And he said he's like, we do young adults on Tuesday nights if you want to join me next week, blah blah blah. And I told them, like, at the time I was working Tuesdays, so I told them, I was like, I think I worked that day, but I don't know, like, let me look. And I double checked the schedule. By some random thing, my name was crossed out on Tuesday and replaced with someone else's name. I saw that, showed it to him on the schedule, and we both looked at each other and knew exactly that God was like telling me, like, hey, time for you to come. I started going to church with them. This was last year in about September ish. I had been going to this church for a while, started kind of doing things myself and trying to grow in my faith, as well as like taking the moment to correct some things about myself, because I still like swore a little bit in my streams, but I was trying to change my content. Eventually, I had a moment where I was like, I think I want to, share with my community and the internet that I was changing what I was doing with my life. And so I made a post on Instagram about being a Christian VTuber. And at the time, this was when my model still had the big boobs and everything. That gained more traction than I could even think of on Instagram. And that's how I got a lot of the following I have now. That video right now has 1.2 million views. Wild that that happened. But a lot from that was a lot of super sweet people, but also a lot of people commenting about my model, saying that it was lustful and inappropriate and demonic and all these things, like every insult under the sun you could think of. The conviction hit me before that video I posted, but I didn't want my model to stop me from speaking my truth and sharing. So I, shared anyways. Because of that, I met so many amazing people like Celeste, Marshall, my mods that are now my friends even. Like I met so many amazing people because I didn't wait. And then after that I posted a community funding thing to help me get model changes. And along with the new model, I changed this current model, my techwear model, and raised money to get a new model. And now my model that I use all the time looks like this. It's still the same outfit, still the same kind of bodysuit underneath, but it has heavily decreased boobs and a jacket that zips up. This is how I look. I used the jacket zipped up because honestly, once I saw it, it looked really cool. And I was like, yeah, I'm chilling with this. At first, I did try to I tried changing the bodysuit. I went to the person who helped me design her, and I was like, how can we change this bodysuit without ruining the vibe? And then eventually, like, we tried messing with ideas, and she was like, girly, your character has a jacket. Just zip it up. And I was like, oh yeah, I do have a jacket. I'll just zip it up. And now I look like this. And I really like it. And while I fully agree that the bodysuit isn't the most appropriate, the issue of the design of it is obviously within the chest area and how it's literally just sheer fabric with pieces of cloth kind of crisscrossing each other. I couldn't figure out a way to change that and be cost effective, so we just zipped up the jacket. And I keep the jacket toggle on and zipped up because while me personally, the bodysuit of my outfit doesn't bother me and doesn't get in my way of my walk with Christ, I understand that people struggle with lust in different ways. And people struggle with lust very heavily when it comes to 2D images, oddly enough, as I used to capitalize on that sin that people cave into all the time. So, out of respect for other people, I keep my jacket zipped up. I could have very easily just said, You have a problem with it, you deal with it. That's not what we're supposed to do as Christians. If something we do causes another Christian, another brother or sister to stumble, we need to make sure we are not doing that. Near them, around them, whatever. My personal life, what I do affects me differently. That's just it. I don't get turned on or anything by a 2D image, but other people do. So I will do my best to make sure I'm not a problem for them. So I don't want to be an obstacle for other people. The next, I guess, hot topic of my model is why I'm a dragon. I know that the Bible has a lot of imagery and depictions of dragons that are not used in a good way. The devil's described as a dragon. The Leviathan is a dragon, if I'm correct. I've not read my entire Bible, so forgive me if my information is wrong. I like dragons. I am a firm believer of just because something, some kind of species was used to depict evil within the Bible doesn't make that species directly evil. It's all about your context. Because, like, Satan presented himself in the Garden of Eden as a serpent, a snake. That doesn't make every single snake evil. I like snakes. Snakes are adorable little boogers. And goats are cool also. But a goat is also often used to depict Satan or as like a half goat thing. But that doesn't make the species evil. And it's all about context. My inspiration for being a dragon is, for one, I'm an ice dragon. I'm not a dragon that has 7 heads and 10 horns, like in Revelation, I think it was. I don't breathe fire. I am a fluffy ice dragon. My inspiration was the Light Fury from How to Train Your Dragon and Eastern culture dragons, Chinese dragons. So they're just little fluffy boogers. I'm literally just a fluffy noodle with ice. That's my context of my dragon. And that's why I don't feel convicted to change the species. I've felt convicted by God to change certain aspects of my model, and I prayed so many times about my model. I asked for God to, if there is anything about my model that I need to fix, I pray that you reveal that to me. And moving forward with future outfits will make sure that modesty is preserved. And with this model, I kept the aesthetic, kept the integrity of the design, but zipped up my jacket and decreased my boobs. I never felt the need to ditch my horns, ditch my tail, and become a different species. I've thought about it, and if I were to ever change my species, I think it'd be a cat. All I do now is I just try my best to do God's will for my life and to keep bettering myself to be more Christ like. And I don't think people should assume that VTubers, especially because there's a lot of VTubers now coming out about their faith, and I think that's amazing. It's good to have discernment. We shouldn't immediately just shoot someone down. Everyone's at different parts of their walk, and for some, it's going to take them a while to get where they need to be. I am grateful that I was able to make the changes that I made as fast as I did, but I was also very determined. Some people may not be ready, and I thank my community for helping me get these changes funded and made. But just because someone's in a different spot doesn't mean we need to push them out. And that's something I still need to remind myself of, is the reason why a lot of people feel driven away from the Christian community is because of other believers. It's not because of Jesus. It's because of other people. And then you have to kind of remind yourself it's not Jesus's fault. It's man's fault. I try to not let man get in my way of pursuing Jesus. If I got a problem with man, I got a problem with man, but I need to stay with Jesus. It's a man moment, a certified man moment.